right, looks like we are live here in Game Changers Nation, and I got back after some technical difficulties last week. My man, Chris Ray, how you doing, buddy?
Doing good, man. Doing good. How about you?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Just got back from a little run, got out of the shower, got my new Game Changer swag on, so I am feeling pretty good.
I got to give me some of that, man. I saw you put it up. I need to get me some. So
Yeah, the t-shirts. I got a few of the t-shirts because I want to try out the quality of the actual t-shirt, and the quality is excellent. They fit well, they feel good, they're soft. So I'm excited how they turned out.
the
So
hat is it a trucker hat or is it a regular?
yeah, it's a regular hat. So these ones we actually got to get unlocked in the store, and it will be unlocked in the store based on our current offerings performance. So that's the way the platform works. So John Mykesh got these made, and he gave me this. So we'll have these soon, but these are still unavailable, these hats. But there will be trucker. There will be like the regular, they call them dad hats. Ironically enough, it's usually what the women wear. And then these straight bill hats. So
Sweet, sweet.
cool. Well, let's jump into it. So let's start by you telling us how long you've been in real estate, your quick past before EXP, and then why you joined EXP. And I'll remind you along the way of what
Yeah,
to
because
say.
it's a lot of questions. I will try to not forget them. So I've been in real estate for going on 8 years now. This will be my eighth year. I started with a small independent. They were actually Chris and Terry's independent back in the day. Chris Snow and Terry Kelly. They used to be called Southern REO Associates, and they ended up franchising to Century 21. And so I was with Century 21 for a little while, with Keller Williams for a little bit, and Exit Real Estate Gallery. So I've kind of bounced around to the box brokerages, always looking for something that they just didn't provide. You always felt like you were missing some part of the puzzle, so you would explore different options, thinking that would give you what you were missing, and you find out none of them have it anyway. So I bounced around for about 6 years between the three, and then EXP I joined not last March. I spent about 2 years now, almost going on 2 years with EXP.
Cool. Awesome. So almost hitting the 2 mark with EXP. So you've done some, if you've been with a couple different companies before EXP, so you see the EXP model. Explain kind of what you were thinking when you were looking at the model, like what got you excited to actually join.
Sure. So I have 4 kids myself, and my wife's a stay-at-home mom. She has a degree in education, but it didn't pay enough to make sense with 4 kids. So we decided to let her stay at home. And it's when you have 4 kids and you're constantly juggling all the responsibilities and the events and just trying to make family life work, you realize really quickly that the traditional model of a brokerage, especially when you're the only one in a household, working full time, you have to do an obscene or copious amount of work to stay afloat, right? The hamster wheel's always going. I mean, always going. I miss so much stuff, man. I miss games, and I miss trips. My family would go to Ohio for Christmas, and I wouldn't be able to leave because I'd have 15 or 20 contracts taken away. And so there was just this big ball and chain that just had me rooted into the ground. And I'm on call. I knew he'd do it too. Um, so there was just always this big ball and chain that just had me rooted. And, no matter where I went, the splits didn't make much of a difference. I'd back right away. Um, the company structure didn't make much of a difference. I was very independent. I never really relied on the broker or, much from a support standpoint. So the company name or the company I was with really didn't matter, right? They were just all the same from me. And I think that Chris Snow actually echoed that when he was talking about why he joined EXP, was because he was feeling the same thing, just from a more, broker or team leader perspective. And so Chris actually was the one that approached me. I'm under Terry, but Chris and Terry are business partner. But Chris
Mm-hmm.
approached me about EXP and just said, "Hey, look, man, I know that you are constantly on the hustle and on the grind. Let me show you a little bit of a different way." And it was the only company that I saw that gave me, I could do everything I was already doing, right? But then I could do a little something extra. And that
Hmm.
little something extra, I mean, I'm 35 now, so I came on at 33. And we're definitely not to the level you are at 30. What are you now? 34, 35?
Just turned 35. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, I'm jealous. It's okay. Um, but it was one of those things where I'm like, I could do this for the next 10 years and be, 43, 45 and retire, where I know so many agents in the business that are in their 60s and 70s who are still on the same hamster wheel that I've been on in my other company.
Hmm.
So I just took the opportunity, and it's paying off wonderfully. But eXp was the only thing that was different, man. It's just different.
Yeah. That's so cool, man. I love that. What I hear in your story and your reason why you joined eXp is you wanted a solution to live more life, to spend more time with your family and not constantly be having to run on this transaction treadmill, taking you away from your family and doing the things that you love.
It
And
was it was horrible, man. My family would go up to Ohio, and my kids would be like, "Why can't you come?" And it's like, my daughter is 12 now. She just turned 12 yesterday, and I felt so horrible. It's just like, they're making all these memories without me because I couldn't disconnect from work.
yeah, yeah, dude, I got goosebumps just thinking about that and how you're changing that story through revenue share, which
Yeah.
is so exciting. Real estate can be, being a real estate agent can be such a blessing to so many people by, being able to create more income than you could at your previous job, having more flexibility to spend more time with your family. And I think that most agents fall in this trap where they might be making good money, but then it's like they're missing trips with their family. If they are on trips with their family, they're still missing it because their head's down on the laptop outside negotiating offers. Their kids, building a sandcastle and they're pacing the beach on the phone with a client or a buyer's agent who's got a deal falling apart. And it's just so sad to see. And it's cool for the first time ever having this solution that eXp provides to our agent equity program and also the revenue share. And no other company has that to the level that we have it. It's like, for me, it's a no brainer. If you're going to sell real estate for the next 5, 10, 15, 20 years, why not do it at a company that is committed to giving back half its revenue to the agents who are busting their tails day in, day out? Like, to me, that's a no brainer.
100%.
And you obviously agree.
Yeah, 100%. Absolutely. It's changing my life, and I didn't think it would happen as quick as it did. When I came on, I was still in full blown production. I mean, when I made the transition, I had 25 contracts at the time I made the move. And so, agent attraction wasn't actually my focal point for the first 7, 8, almost 9 months being over here. And then as I slowly started to get into it, I was like, wow, this is kind of cool. It was such an immediate pop in passive income for me that I was like, wow, I really need to push and make this a part of my business plan. Because
Yeah.
eventually, and you already experienced this, but I mean, eventually it'll overtake the transactional income, and I won't have to be in the transaction anymore. I can
Yeah.
just help other agents see the opportunity more
Yeah.
close.
Yeah. So cool. And at that time, you choose. You can keep selling real estate, which most choose to do. They keep selling real estate, but they work with their best clients, the highest price points. Your no hassle clients. Wouldn't we all love to do that when we were selling real estate? And or you can
We
choose
can
not to.
avoid we can avoid the divorce listings finally.
Yeah, dude, that can be a challenge for sure, to say the least. I thankfully I've only dealt with a couple of those in my career, but if that's like part of your business plan, wow, that's a challenge.
No,
It's a good source of business though. So let's pivot a little bit. So
sure.
you've been here almost 2 years. You've really been thinking, hey, I want to really spend more of my time on revenue share to build that true freedom over the last 14 or so months, it sounds like. So how many have you personally sponsored and how big is your organization?
Um, so I have personally sponsored 32. My organization right now is sitting at 109.
Nice.
Yeah, I will say that my the organization actually, like, if you look at the ones that have onboarded and offboarded, it's like 125 ish, 130, I think.
Hmm.
So there were some that I've lost over time.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean it's over 100, and in the last 30 days, I think I'm at 18 joining the last 30 days. So I'm almost to a point
Nice.
where month over month it's at 20%
Nice.
growth right now. So
Nice. That's amazing. So, and to break that down for those of you listening who may not get what these numbers are. So Chris has personally sponsored, you said, was it 36?
It's 32. Yeah,
32.
32.
And 109 total through the 7 tiers. And 18 new agents have joined in the last 30 days. That's the key metric. That's the number that actually gets me excited, from knowing what I know about rev share. Because when you start having a significant amount of people, and I would consider 18 a significant number joining your organization every month. I mean, think about if you were selling real estate in a local market and in 1 month, your real estate team added 18 agents. You would be the number one team, or number one, probably even independent brokerage in that area with those kind of numbers. And you're doing that in 2 years with our company. So out of those 18 agents, how many did you personally recruit?
One.
And I love it. That's even better.
And it's funny, actually, I've had agents this month pop up. I had 2 in Panama. I've never been to Panama. I don't know anyone in Panama. I had some popping up in California. I mean, I've got these agents I've never spoke to, never met, and I don't even know their sponsor. I've never even spoke to or met because they're in like my 3rd or 4th. And it really feels like at this point, obviously I wouldn't, but it feels like at this point I could shut myself off from it, come back 2 years from now and it'd be at like 500 or 600 agents, right?
Yeah.
But it's really, really cool to see it. And it's getting to this point where I remember Chris had said in one of the first lunch and learns I went to, you'll get to a point where you can't control your growth or your income, and it's starting to take that shape where I can't control how many people are starting to join. I think next month I could be over 20 for the month, 20, 22 for the month at this rate.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you can't control it in a good way. Most people think like they don't have control of their income, and it's like, oh no, that's a really scary thing. But this is like, you can't control it in like the best way possible. It just starts growing without you. And, it's just so interesting to see that all of your efforts over the last 30 days brought in one person, but because you've built a real business, a business in my mind, and according to Robert Kiyosaki in Rich Dad Poor Dad, a true business is a business that runs with or without you. Selling real estate is not a real business. You're basically self-employed if you were to look at the cash flow quadrant that Robert Kiyosaki talks about. And you've built a business, the revenue share, because it's now operating with or without you. Had you not shown up these last 30 days, you would have had 17 new agents instead of 18. That's powerful. That's powerful. So tell me like a specific example of maybe the first person you ever sponsored to eXp, or like your number one person that is growing the most. And you don't have to name names, but tell me like how that happened. How'd you go about doing it? And maybe, were you surprised by it, excited? Whatever.
So my wife doesn't count.
Share that story.
My wife doesn't count, so I brought her on. She doesn't count. But it's very interesting. I will say that the most meaningful recruit that I brought on, I actually didn't even approach him. It was very interesting how it happened. I had a couple people on board already, some friends of friends, and just they were coming on not to do agent attraction at all. They were coming on to produce, and I was cool with that, and we knew that from the beginning. They just like the structure, right? The person that I would say that has helped me explode my organization the most actually reached out to me after Googling eXp agents in Jacksonville, Florida. And I had the most transactions of a single agent in the last 6 years with eXp. And so he just called me and said, "Hey, what's up with your company?" And so we ended up having lunch, and he came on board. It's Joseph Kale. I think you've seen him in the leaderboards or what have you.
Yep.
And so he came on board. He has no intention of really producing, and that's perfectly fine. But he sponsored Danielle, and under Joe, I've gotten 3 builders. So that introduction to him led to the introductions to the others. And really, I can say that, him reaching out to me actually helped my business, I would say from a revenue share standpoint more than anything I've done as an individual. So it's just making those connections and being open to those connections. And,
why do you think he reached out to you?
I think he was already interested maybe in the model and had done some research and been exposed to it somewhere along the line. And then I think at the time, I don't know if it's because my transaction history or my transaction amount has gone down drastically, but at the time, I was probably the top producing agent in Northeast Florida with eXp in the Jacksonville market area, not in St. Augustine, but in Jacksonville. And that's where he was living, and that's where he Googled. So he
Yep.
totally bridged that gap. I didn't know him before that, and I hadn't reached out to him.
Wow.
So
Wow. That's cool. So by being a top producing agent, making yourself kind of known a little bit, you got a great person to reach out to. That's cool. And I want to touch on something real quick that you mentioned. You said you used to be the top selling agent in Northeast Florida, and now you're not. And this was actually my next question about kind of your production a little bit.
Yeah.
And I want to just point that out because, I'm going to speak for you for a second. It's not because eXp caused your production to go down. It's not because it's out of your control and your production is going down. It's because you now see building a worldwide organization. You have agents in Panama, not Panama City, Florida, Panama, the country, right?
Correct.
Yeah. So you have an international organization that's building at such a rapid pace. It's now become your highest income producing activity. So I'm assuming, and correct me if I'm wrong, you've chosen to spend more time, energy, and focus on something that can truly build wealth for agents as opposed to just staying on the transaction treadmill forever. Would that be accurate?
That's pretty accurate. And it's it's funny. I have people all the time reach out to me like, what happened to you? I'm like, what do you mean what happened to me? They're like, oh, we looked at MLS, we did the member search and you've only got 3 contracts. I'm like, that's by choice. Like, I could pick up the phone tomorrow and prospect and be back to 20 transactions if I chose that. But I don't want that. I want freedom with my kids.
Well, I talked to you last week, and you're in Ohio at a tournament that you chose to be at for 3 days that you won. Congratulations.
Appreciate
and
that.
What's interesting, there's a big brand name company out there that I think is a great company, actually. But they have a motto that they go by, and I love the motto. I actually use the motto, but it's life by design. And that motto, to them, the way it plays out is sell more houses. Just keep selling as many houses as possible. And when I look at life by design, it's taking a step back and seeing really what you want from your life. And with eXp in a short period of time, you can really change your lifestyle. And you've done that, which is so cool. Share with us. So you have 109 total agents in your organization. Sure. You have 32 FLAs. That means agents you've sponsored. How many out of those 32 FLAs are FLQAs?
12 right this second.
12. Cool. So you have 12 FLQAs.
3 to open level 4 up. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. So how much income on average is that bringing in now?
It ranges anywhere from 5 to 7.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Right. I mean, my best month was 67-ish and change, right? I mean, but again, I got started late to the party. I mean, had I been recruiting from the very get-go when I joined eXp or agent attraction when I joined eXp, that number would be elevated drastically, right? But it doesn't have to be overnight. It has a inevitability to it, right? As long as you follow through with the actions, and 5 years from now, I won't have to worry about that, right? In 5 years from now, because I know that eventually, as long as I wake up each day and share eXp with other agents, it can be as much or as little as I want to that day. But I mean, as long as I am taking the actions to go out there and talk to other agents about the opportunity we have, eventually I won't have to sell real estate at all anymore. And eventually it will be a circumstance where, I'm helping agents out on the phone, or I'm picking up the phone for agents to help people in my organization, but I may be spending the weekend with my kids in Colorado or overseas or something. But yeah, it's not to where my goal is yet, but I can see the steps. I see the steps getting there. I see myself getting there eventually. It's really, really cool.
That's awesome. Do you have a financial freedom number? Like, you don't got to share the number, but do you have a number and a set date of when you'd like to hit like complete financial freedom, where it's Chris is no longer selling homes if he chooses to, like
an agent count in my organization?
Yeah, really just like a date, like what date and year would you like to be at that point where there's enough residual income coming in through revenue share primarily, where you can just walk away?
So at the actual build conference, we had Cliff talk about the number or the paper in your pocket, and so I did that. And my goal was 750 in my organization by the end of next year.
By the end of next
Um,
year? Cool.
yeah, got a long way to go for it, right? But I think that is definitely, that number would get me to that freedom number. What realistically gets me to my freedom number is probably 300 in my organization. And
Hmm.
I'm well on the way to getting there, and I definitely think I'll be there by the quarter three of next year for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think you'll get there in that time period. I'm actually pulling up my spreadsheet to see what my numbers were, because I think you're tracking pretty close to actually where I was when I had a similar organization size. So October 2017, at the end of October 2017. So this is pretty good. This is 4 years later now, I guess. 4 years later, I had 112 agents, and my new agents added was 26. So you're not far off that target at all. When I had 86 agents, it was 20. When I had 157 that December, it was 19. So you're tracking my numbers pretty good, which is cool to see.
So what were you at the following December?
Year over year, let's pull that up. So the following December, 971. Yeah, so it's possible. It's possible, man, and your numbers are tracking pretty dang close to that. So that's exciting. It's interesting just to see the exponential growth that is possible here. So cool. So
Yeah,
cool.
man, I'm excited about it.
Give us a little breakdown. So you've sponsored 32 people. I'm sure some people watching this are like, wow, I could never do that, or wow, I want to do that. How did Chris do it? Like, just give us a breakdown. So what would be your top two sources of agent attraction? So like out of those 32, where did the majority come from?
Sure. So I'll be honest. I mean, I had a pretty extensive book of business when it came to cross transactions.
Hmm.
Before I joined this company, different agents, unique agents. I would say, hold on.
We got a special guest on the
He's
show.
got a huge Maine Coon. He's absolutely ginormous. He won't leave me alone now. But I would say, so I had about 400 cross agents, right, that I had done deals with. So, I just made a list of the 20 agents I thought that I had the best relationship with, and I approached them. You know, I was a little rough around the edges when I first got into the business, so there are some that I really couldn't call. But I reached out to. You look back at it, if you start in real estate now, make those relationships really, really crisp. But yeah, so I made some calls to probably the top 20 agents I had, and I would say I brought over eight of them, seven or eight of them, and then
Wow.
a lot of some of the other ones were newer agents. Admittedly, I had recruited some brand new agents, which the challenge in that for sure. But yeah, so that would be the you won't leave me alone. But that would be
So
how
some
I
new
got
agents.
started.
So primarily cross sale agents and a handful of new agents that you
Correct.
met. Wow, that's
Correct.
awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, and how many? I wanted to point this out too. While you've been building this additional stream of income over the last 2 years, how many homes have you personally sold?
The last 2 years, my production this year is drastically low. I think last year I sold 26 homes after I came over and started making revenue share part of my business. And this year I've sold outside of some investor, I think I've sold 13, over 13. There's just not a need
Cool.
for me to do it anymore. So as my revenue share goes up, my production's going down.
Well, that's the thing, man. It's everyone needs to get extremely clear on what their goals are. And when I hear you say that, I'm excited for you because I can tell you're extremely clear on what your goals are. Your goals are not to sell as many homes as possible. Your goal is to make as much income as possible as residual. That's your goal. Some agents come to eXp and they're like, I want to double my production and build revenue share. That's an awesome goal. Let's help you build that. So I
Yeah.
find that so oftentimes, what's celebrated in real estate is, I've heard Pat Hyden before say it on his podcast, Real Estate Rockstars. It's the ECI, the ego commission income, the ECI. And it's so true. It's really like a pandemic in the industry. It's like, ooh, what's your volume? What's your GCI? How many homes did you sell? It's not how much money did you actually put in your bank account that
Correct.
can provide for your family and provide for others. How many cool vacations did you go on where you're actually fully present with your family? How much time did you spend with your kids and your wife or your husband watching them grow and, building those relationships? And I think that's why the burnout's so high in our industry. So I'm proud of you, man. I think a lot of people in your position are afraid to step away from the ECI, the gross commission income, the ego
Yeah.
commission income a little bit, and start to really get true with what's important to them. So that's cool. I love it. Good job. So
Yeah, I noticed, just to touch on that, I noticed, there's so many agents here locally and across the country, I'm sure, who, if they're not doing like a huge amount of production, they feel like they're failing, regardless of whether it's they're, putting 50, 60, 80, $100,000 into marketing, right? And that's not freedom, man. I don't care how much production you're doing. When you have that big of a overhead, it's just way too much stress. And I would rather do I'd rather build my income from a passive standpoint and not, if something happens to me, I get sick or my kids get sick and I've got to take time off, my business doesn't just stop, right? Like what was so scary with me being just the sole breadwinner is if I stop working, our entire family income stops. And so eXp has given me, reassurance and a backup plan if that happens.
Yeah. 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 It's those things that we don't think about when we're healthy and everything's going good. However, I seen recently, not too long ago, someone, I'm not friends with them, but I'm aware of them through social media. And I think they were 36 and they tragically passed away. And, that just really hit home to me. And I'm going to remember that person hopefully forever as a reminder to truly fully live my life at all times, because, life's not promised. And I think we get caught up with life and caught up with sales and production. And we look up 5-10 years from now and we're like, holy smokes, I just missed out on the last 10 years of my life.
Yeah.
My son, who used to be a baby, is now going into middle school, and I missed it. And that's really unfortunate. So it's my passion to help guys like you and gals like you who are looking to build, their lifestyle freedom. And I just think that's what's important. So let's touch on this real quick. So you said your freedom number organizationally is 750 agents. You said you could do it in about 300, which I think is also true. So I achieved mine on about we'll call it 300 agents, but I made exactly $13,777 April of 2018, when my total organization was at 361 agents by the end of that month. But I would have gotten paid on 284 agents or so from the month prior. And I was financially free at that point because I wasn't spending more than probably $7-8 grand a month at that point. So that's when I was financially free. But aspirational financial freedom is totally different. My number was 500 agents originally. $40,000 a month was my goal. So fast forward to when you have your 750, the exciting financially free number, the aspirational financially free number. How much money do you see yourself making a month, and how are you living? Where are you moving somewhere? Are you traveling full time? Are you just adding on to your house? What are you doing?
The loaded question, man. No, so my wife and we're actually pretty basic when it comes to how we want to live. We're very grounded. I don't need to go buy a huge house or anything like that. It's just not how we choose to live. We much rather prefer experiences and experiences with the kids. So I would say, where would I love to be at? 40,000 a month.
Yeah.
And what would that look like for me as a lifestyle? Probably keep the house we have, to be honest, and just travel. Like there's no real need for anything else. We're happy where we're at. I think what we would probably end up doing would be helping family a lot more. We have some family members that are struggling. So instead of just artificially making us look better to the Joneses, right? I mean, I would rather just help people in the family, and then for my wife and I and our kids, just go experience life. and not be tied down to huge materialistic things.
Yeah, I love it, man. That's what it's about too. Don't get me wrong. I love material items. I don't spend a lot on them yet. I do have aspirations to have a really nice house and stuff, but for me, I want both. But experiences are big priority over material things. Like I love experiences, man, and I love new experiences and helping like my family. You know, it's been really special. I was able to buy my mom a house last summer from the stock that I earned for free at eXp. I bought her a house, and today we were texting back and forth, and she has some health issues right now. And you know, I grew up probably generally lower middle class, so I helped my mom out a lot. And I just told her, I was like, you know, I don't want your medical bills to stress you out. I was like, how much do you owe doctors right now, and anything moving forward, just tell me what it is and it's paid for. Like, and that I have a voice text. We were, you know, typing text, but there's a voice text coming that I haven't listened to yet, but I'm sure, you know, she's probably pretty emotional over that because that's a big deal for her. And it's those kind of stories that is just so cool. You know, like I'm like on the plane, you know, put your oxygen mask on first. Because when I joined eXp, I was in debt. Yeah, I was making great money, selling close to 100 homes a year with a team, but I still had to put my oxygen mask on first. And now that my oxygen mask is on and I have my net worth's increasing, I'm starting to invest and save and all that. It's been fun to be able to help others.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see what you do with it, man, along this journey. See how you help others, see how you create new experiences for you and your family and all that cool stuff. So I'm excited for you, man. Keep doing the work. Just keep your head down for these next couple of years, and it's going to happen for you. I can see it.
Awesome, man. I appreciate it. You're a blessing, man. I love, you know, your availability and your willingness to help everyone in the organization. I mean, we're all on the journey with you, you know, so we appreciate you spearheading the front forward, man.
Cool. Game Changers Nation, baby. We're doing it. See you, buddy.
All right, see you.